Good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Jackson, and I work with my father, Rob Jackson, with Red Giant Books. I'm also a Japanese minor at Kent State University, so thank you for this opportunity to speak at the Japan Foundation. On behalf of Red Giant Books, I would like to welcome you to the book launch of Yoko Morgenstern's Double Exile. Yoko Morgenstern was published in the first issue of Great Lakes Review, so she was one of the first pioneers connecting Toronto writers to Chicago, Chicago to Hamilton, Cleveland to Buffalo, and exporting and importing all the cultural scenes from the historic cities of the Great Lakes. Her short stories examine everything from life and death to nihilism and dissects the challenges of what it means to be fully human in the modern world and the consequences when our humanity falls short of achieving its global potential. We are here this evening, however, to celebrate the release of Double Exile. Double Exile is a novel that, in the words of Catherine Gobier, Morgenstern's straightforward, clean style lets a story tell itself. Ayumi, a backpacker from Tokyo, comes alive with her honest drive to understand betrayal and loyalty in their lives and her own. Yoko Morgenstern is a great debut novelist, unafraid of complex questions and gifted with a simple touch. Having had interest in education and Japanese culture from a young age, I found it fascinating to experience the perception of Germany through the eyes of a young Japanese woman. Ayumi's research acts as a vehicle with which the reader is presented an insight into the survival of writers and their creativity during World War II, not only in Germany, but globally. The book will officially be out August 1st. However, if you order today, we will mail you a signed copy and cover shipping. Also, next week, join Red Giant Books, Great Lakes Review, and Yoko at No One Writes to the Colonel for our summer tour. I would like to thank Yoko for her art, dedication, and contribution to literature. I would also like to thank the Japan Foundation, and also thank all of you for coming out to support Yoko tonight. So, Yoko-san, Shuppan omedetou gozaimasu. Kyou wa o maneki arigatou gozaimasu. Yoko-san no kongo no go katsuyaku o kitai shite imasu.
Hi everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm very excited because I know a lot of people are out of town this week, but I'm very excited to have so many guests here. I wrote this novel 3 years ago while I was still living in Canada, but unfortunately I don't live here anymore. But I'm so happy to launch it here in Toronto because this is the place I learned English and creative writing. I'd like to thank Japan Foundation, especially the chief librarian Mariko Littlefield, for making this happen. And many people helped me with writing this novel. Most of them are not here tonight, but I want to thank them. I'm just gonna mention a few. I was very fortunate to have a chance to learn creative writing from Catherine Gobier, as now you know. Mr. Eric Koch, a Toronto-based journalist and a survivor of Nazi Germany, shared his experience and knowledge with me. The Ontario Jewish Archives allowed me to examine historical documents. My editor, Francis Sutherland, who took the liberty to cut out 20,000 words from my first draft. Thank you. And Laura Lush. From the University of Toronto, made a great effort in publicity. Thank you. My former agent, Ria Kalhaney, not here yet. My wonderful publishers in Cleveland, Jay Meganhout and Rob Jackson, thank you so much. So I'm going to read the first chapter where Ayumi meets Alex for the first time. It's going to take about 10 minutes. Kassel, Germany, 2008. Ayumi stood on the top of the hill. The view from there was beautiful. Far below lay the peninsula between the Danube and the Inn. The three cupolas of St. Stephen's Dome stood out. She took a map out of her pocket and unfolded it. There was a tiny red circle on it. She looked at the dome again. The city library must be around there, she thought. It was already 4:30. The library couldn't be open much longer. She had to hurry. She started to walk down the steps that ran through the woods. Ayumi had come here from Japan. She was doing research for her bachelor's thesis. Her political science professor recommended that she write about a German writer named Hans Karosa. He was one of the most respected writers before World War II, but he lost his reputation after the war. Those who had stayed in Germany in wartime were labeled inner immigration writers and regarded as Nazi supporters. But her professor didn't believe that Karosa had ever been a supporter. He wanted her to prove it by examining his work and his life, and what better way to do that than to travel to Germany and dig through the archives. Did Ayumi believe in Karosa like her professor? She wasn't sure. She wasn't sure what to think about his books. Karosa seemed to have had a very passive personality, and she couldn't really feel for him. But she thought it would be a great idea to travel during the summer break and do her research anyway. She needed a getaway from Japan, but mostly she needed a hiatus from her father. Her father was a professor of German literature at a different university and didn't see the merit in studying a writer like Karosa. Actually, he never believed in anything that his daughter did. He didn't believe in a girl learning politics or in a girl traveling alone. He had too many of those old-fashioned, stereotypical images of what a girl should be. I'm going to write a wonderful thesis and he'll lose face, she thought. Then I'd show him just how capable I am as a woman. But she couldn't find the information she needed. It wasn't as easy as she'd imagined. Now, only 1 week was left before she had to go back to Japan. And at the beginning of September, she had to submit the first draft of her thesis to her professor. She couldn't let her research trip end up in vain. Besides, her father would then have grounds to doubt her abilities. She couldn't let him win by any means. Now she was down the hill, feeling tired and rushed. She crossed the bridge to the peninsula. When she reached the other side, uphill slopes were waiting for her. Okay, fine, she murmured. As she walked up, her shoulders were pulled back by the weight of her backpack. To forget the pain, she almost jogged. Finally, she arrived at the place marked red on her map. In front of the main doors, however, she had to wonder if it was the right place. No sign. A panel of carvings on the reddish-brown iron doors showed what looked like farmers, children, maybe a priest. She looked at it for a while, and then, hesitantly, she opened the doors. The library it was. She went inside. The room was relatively modern for a historical library in Germany. Simple desks and chairs on the carpeted floor in the middle of the room. Bookshelves stood along each wall. It didn't seem that there were many books, but maybe there was a main archive somewhere. Ayumi knew what she was looking for, so went directly to the information desk. There was an old man. His hair was gray, but his skin was tanned and looked healthy. As he noticed Ayumi coming up to him, he smiled and said in English, "How can I help you, young lady?" "Hello, I'm looking for a book called Tribute to Hans Karosa from Inselpress," she answered in German. The man didn't say anything, slightly raising his gloves. Then he said, this time in German, I'm afraid we don't have it. If you want Carousel, how about Childhood or Romanian Diary? Or maybe Dr. Gian? The book you asked for is actually nothing special. Thank you, but I've already read all of them. Have you? The man said casually, though his eyes widened. Boy, how unusual for a young lady like you. Are you a student from the University of Passau? No, I'm from Japan, she said Ayumi. Actually, I've read his work there. Most of it is translated. We even have series of his collected works in Japan. In Japan? Now he raised his voice, dropping his chin. People turned to look at him. He stood and came out from behind the counter. He leaned towards her and said in a lowered voice, "Not many people in Germany even know about him anymore." I know I was asking around, but no one could really answer my questions. Maybe I started in the wrong places. How long have you been here? Which cities have you been to so far? Almost 6 weeks. Ayumi interrupted the flurry of questions. I went to Berlin, Weimar, Frankfurt, Heidelberg. I thought bigger cities or university towns would be a good places to gather information, but they weren't. I think I should have picked up places from Carlos's stories like here, Passau. This is one of my last shots. I'm going home in a week. The man glanced at the clock on the wall. Will you be in town for a few days at least? Hopefully, it depends if I can find a cheap room here. It was a big disappointment that she couldn't stay at the youth hostel at the top of the hill. It was at the end of her trip, and she was almost broke. She couldn't afford a luxury room. Go to the Glass Museum, said the man. The upper floors are at a hotel. I'm sure there's a room available for you. Do you have a city map? Ayumi gave a map to him. He made a circle on it with a blue pen. It's just a 5-minute walk from here. It's a simple hotel, but clean and inexpensive. He gave the map back to her. And historical too. Sissi, Princess of Bavaria, stayed at the hotel. Thank you, I'll go right away. I'd love to talk with you more. The man looked at the clock again. But I have to leave now, unfortunately. I'm taking my daughter for a hospital appointment. But I'll be done by 7. Would you like to come over to my place for coffee? I think I have some things that might interest you. This is kind of weird, thought Ayumi. He's known me for 5 minutes and is asking me for coffee. But he seems to know something. And he seems safe, harmless. He's like 80. Well, he's old anyway. She thought all of this without staring at it. Not even her face muscles moved. She was from Tokyo, and big city people can observe others without being noticed. She smiled. Oh, thank you, Mr. Alex. Let's dutzen, shall we? The man winked. Dutzen. Ayumi likes this lovely German tradition to announce that people will start calling each other by first name. Sure, I'm Ayumi. Very nice to meet you. And I'd love to see you tonight. But how unusual, she thought, to dutzen so quickly. I'll pick you up at the hotel at 7, he said, and picked up his briefcase under the counter. I'm glad you managed to walk your way to Passau, he said. Your German is very good. Thank you. I'm taking some German language courses. My father taught German literature at a university. He passed away a few years ago. Why did I say that? Ayumi was astonished at herself. Perhaps she was sick of explaining. She didn't like to talk about her family. Every time she said that she wasn't getting along with her father, people asked her why. She hated to be asked why. What an oblivious, indiscreet, hurtful word it was, this why. Okay then, maybe it wasn't a bad idea that I lied. It made everything easier. I'm sorry, Alex pinched his brows. She smiled. No, that's all right. I'll see you tonight.